the comedy gods, excuse me. I'm hoping that will stop the floor from involuntarily consuming me due to a chronic lack of talent. But, you know, we thanked our sponsors and we thanked the volunteers, but I also really want to thank Jeff for what he just said in his talk. As Eric mentioned, I come from a long history of traditional advertising, and then I moved into digital advertising, and then deep into new media, and I now consult for a number of different clients a year. And what you got from Jeff at the opening of his talk this evening was a window into the future of business. It was not anyone being effusive or excited or enamored with the possibilities of social media. It was a window into the future of business. So I look around the room tonight, I'm amazed how many of you are here. I hear all the time people are like, I haven't got time to use Facebook. I haven't got time to use Facebook and Twitter. I haven't got time to use Facebook, Twitter, Foursquare, Goala, LinkedIn, yet all of us are here. Which begs the question, what did we do at work before there was social media? Did any of us in this room actually do anything at all? So, thank you all for being here. I really, really do appreciate it. And we're here to talk about the real-time web. And I would like to do something a little unexpected in that I would like to talk about some of the key principles we rush past in our hurry to take advantage of these new tools. In terms of what those principles do in allowing us to leverage them in the right way. So I'm going to talk about three things. The first thing are the 5 major trends that are coming together right now that are going to transform the web even as you know it. Transform the web even as this literate audience understands it today. Secondly, I want to talk about the 4 principles that everybody overlooks and that I invariably come across in my work with brands. And then finally, I want to give you 3 rules to live by that will enable you to succeed in this new marketplace. So, 5 trends, 4 principles that are overlooked, and 3 rules. Now, the first of those trends is something we all know a little bit about. Social media, correct? Who knows the latest figure on Facebook? How many users are there? Is it 420 million? Over 500 million already? Yeah. And yet Facebook isn't even in the top 10 of social networks in China. In fact, in terms of size, if you went to South by Southwest this year and went to the China talk, you would have heard them say that the most talked about brand across social media in China is the Ford Focus. There are 140,000 messages a day about the Ford Focus in China. And they're not congregating around the Ford site, they're congregating around the nicknames that different communities have for their car. For example, my little rabbit, or my little darling, or whatever it might be in Chinese. So not only do we have people talking about the brand to that extent, they're doing it in communities around nicknames, which is one product of a brand being talked about across multiple platforms. That's how sophisticated the consumers are already. Even more sophisticated than the brands, and in my experience, often more sophisticated than their advertising agency partners. The second trend, we know about this as well, mobile. You know how our kids all ignore us and have no eye contact anymore? That was the one thing I missed at South by Southwest this year. Just seeing the color of somebody's eyes. There was everybody huddled over in the corner. We're all in the communication business, we're all about connectivity, we're all huddled in a corner in hoodies. You know, collapsed over, looking for a PowerPoint, trying to find an AT&T signal. But mobile. Now, the UK firm Coda just came out with a statistic that they estimate that mobile data usage will increase 40 times by 2015. So as much as you think smartphones and usage of social networking on smartphones is ubiquitous today, 40 times more in the next, not 10 years, in the next 4 years. In fact, Facebook is growing faster on mobile phones than it is on desktop right now. The third trend, Foursquare, Goala, and as we all know, in the next 6 or 8 days, the bully in the schoolyard, the behemoth will wade into it as Facebook launches its LBS, its location-based system. And did you hear today that Mark Zuckerberg flew to meet the CEO of Foursquare in New York? Wouldn't you love to be a fly on the wall in there? So let's talk. So that's the third one, location-based. The fourth one is actual applications in your smartphones, but ones that directly relate to the business and how we're going to practice it in the next few years. Who's heard of Baku? Baku rates is a mobile application that rates the social responsibility of a given brand and allows you just to scan the barcode of a product in the store. Wow. Who's heard of brandkarma.com? That was launched a few weeks ago by Craig Davis in Australia. That aggregates the social responsibility of any given brand and rates it using a lotus flower, how they treat their employees, you know, how environmentally responsible their production methods are, their corporate responsibility programs. So in a snapshot, you can be in a store and go, you know what? Given two equals, I would choose this brand because of how socially aware they are. That is the power that's being put in the consumer's hands to make mindful decisions. And then fifthly, wow, the F8 conference 2 weeks ago, the brouhaha over Facebook trying to turn the entire web social. I actually defended Facebook today in a post in support of Jeff Jarvis. And then, you know when things start getting hot and everyone's sort of arguing, and then you think, I could either try and be nice about this, or we could stir the pot. So I tweeted my friends in London, and they stirred the pot even further. And pretty soon we had this huge international argument about privacy. And it was engaging and compelling because people were engaged in the conversation that is shaping the future of business. But the social web, if you think about it, up till now, each social network has been like a walled castle. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. And now Facebook has decided to effectively dissolve its own walls, to throw lifelines out across the entire web with those like and recommend buttons, allowing you not just to share in your newsfeed what interests you, but allowing those third-party sites, unrelated to those social networks, to capture information about your likes and dislikes, who your friends are, where you are, what your gender is. My point is this: it's not about how 1 billion people on YouTube each day. It's not about the 500 million on Facebook. It is about the confluence of those 5 trends: social media, mobile, location-based applications, in-store applications, and the entire web going social. Who here feels that that would transform any given business that you're in the coming years? We are in a completely new business era. Now, as exciting as that is, it presents a problem, because a lot of the brands I work with are either in defense mode and they don't want anything to do with it, or they are running so quickly to go there to flick on that social media light switch so they can go, oh my God, I've got a Facebook account, that's over. But what they miss on the way are the fundamental principles of effective communication, which advertising has spent a lot of time thinking about for a long time. And I'd like to share some of those with you today, not so that you're like an effective advertiser, but so you can achieve what Jeff was talking about, which is connecting with people in an emotional way with the potential to transform our world for the better. The first one of those is definition. If you don't know who you are, how on earth is anybody else going to know who you are? Time and time again, I'm in a room with brands, and they say, we're going to launch this product, or we're going to do this initiative, or we want to do this campaign, and they don't have a point of view about it. Why don't they have a point of view about it? Because they don't know who they are. Why? Because they haven't asked themselves the hard questions. I went through the same process personally a few years ago. You know, I'm a dad, I've got 2 daughters, and I was sort of wondering, what's my contribution going to be? And I forced myself to answer the same questions I asked brands to answer. What's my purpose? And for me, the answer was, I want to take the best learnings of the Nike and Cokes of the world and bring it into the social change space. That's my purpose. That's what gets me out of bed in the morning, and that is the filter over which that's the filter I lay over everything I do. So your brand, what's its purpose? The second thing, values. Who here has ever worked in advertising or marketing? And, oh wow, my God. Hello, friends. When you look at a brief, what do you always have? You've got some general statement at the top, and then you have core values, correct? And these are those things that we clever creatives skip over, and I'm guilty as charged. I was the guy in the too tight t-shirt with his feet up on the desk saying, "Don't bother me, you can't imagine what I'm thinking." You look at those core values and you skip over them. But those core values are critical today, and let me tell you why. As a company, as a brand, as an individual, if you want to reach out to a stranger, you can take potluck and just put it out there and hope that you're going to connect. Or you can trade in the currency of universal values, knowing that by and large, you can connect with someone far more effectively if it's from a value proposition. Look after the environment, breast cancer, water as a resource, the disparity in wealth between the first and the third world. Because these are things that bind us. These are things we share. And when we talk in those terms, what we talk about becomes innately shareable. So let's have, and it even affects the bottom line. Has anyone here ever heard of Ethisphere? Ethisphere? No, it's a website that tracks business in terms of the ethics of its practices. And they did a study from 2005 to 2010 between what they call the world's most ethical brands, the S&P 500 and the FTSE 100, in terms of their growth. And the world's most ethical brands outperform the other two all the way through. So it translates to the bottom line. The third thing is purpose. Did anyone see, you know, I worked on the Nike account for 4 years up at Wyden and Kennedy, which is just a wonderful place. And did anyone see what they did with the Tour de France this year with the chalk ball? Anyone see that? Lance Armstrong, testicular cancer, survivor, live strong, Nike athlete. So what did they do? They allowed people to tweet personal messages as cancer survivors or family members of cancer survivors. So for example, life is nothing without hope. Well, this is for Mum, who was lost too soon. And then they took a simple cart with an old dot matrix, a basic dot matrix printer on the back, and printed in real time those messages on the road in front of the cyclists. Leveraging all the paid media that is already attending that event. But more importantly, taking the heartfelt, the heart-won emotion of those family members and slapping it right on the ground in front of the cyclists in direct connection with the sweat equity of the athletes. That's powerful advertising because it is promoting emotional connection. That's purpose. And then fourthly, dialogue. I heard an expression the other day that when someone asks you a question, listen to what it's telling you, not what it's asking you. And when someone asks you a question, as a brand, as a corporation, as somebody online, they're trying to tell you something. Yet too often, brands make the mistake of listening to what they want to hear rather than what they're being told. So when you put those four together, and you can see so many examples of how people are doing it. Did anyone see the Grammys this year? Grammys earlier in the year, and Bon Jovi was there, and they did 2 songs, and everyone online on the CBS.com could select from 6 songs which one they wanted to hear as the 3rd song in the set. So Bon Jovi looks across, and he doesn't age. Has anyone noticed that? At all, ever.
It's the sunglasses.
It's the sunglasses, or we just pull further back all the time. But anyway, he looked across and said, "Great, you want me to do," I think it was, what's that song they do with the word prayer in it?
Living on a Prayer.
Living on a Prayer. So he, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. And so he launched into the 3rd song in a real-time response to his fan base. Incredibly powerful. Let's think of another example. Intel, Dell, Intuit, Dell, and Starbucks all have ideation communities. Have you seen those platforms? You can go in and say, "I think your cup holders aren't thick enough on your Starbucks coffee and it's burning me." And you can engage with them and have a real-time dialogue. There are so many examples out there where brands are listening. And finally, the 3 rules to take away, bearing in mind those 4 key principles, which are definition, values, purpose, and dialogue. The 3 rules that brands can effectively live by and communicate effectively through. The first, technology is teaching us to be human again. So look for the human in the technology. Technology is teaching us to be human again. The second rule, when you own the relationship, you own everything. So work on the relationship. The rest will take care of itself. And then thirdly, the companies that will succeed in the next 10 years will be distinguished by their quality of listening. You know, I heard an expression the other day which was, expecting life to be kind to you because you're a good person is like expecting a bull not to charge because you're a vegetarian. Just because we know how to use social media or we're engaged or we've got X number of followers does not absolve us from the responsibility of using the right way. If we want to be effective, if we want our contribution to this space to be transformative, if we want to make the role of the internet and social networks within it and the increasingly socialized web one of the most powerful forces for change in the next 20 years. I invite you all to play a part in that by asking yourself one question tonight on the drive home. What is the purpose of your engagement in social networking? Why are you on Twitter? Why are you on Facebook? What are you doing with LinkedIn? Why do you check in? What's the purpose? And let that be a filter on how you interact. And just imagine for a second, for all those 5 trends that come together and all their potential, what we could achieve together if all our purposes work as one to make the world a better place. Thanks very much.